the Green Mountains of central Vermont, this is the Friday News Dump. It's Friday, December 27th, 2013, with your hosts, Francis Goodwin and Greg Crawford. I'm Deborah Goodwin behind the camera, and here's the latest news.
A federal judge ruled today that a national security agency program that collects records of millions of Americans' phone calls is lawful. He called it a counterpunch to terrorism that does not violate Americans' privacy rights. In Manhattan, U.S. District Judge William Pauley dismissed a lawsuit by the American Civil Liberties Union challenging the program, whose existence was first disclosed by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden. The decision diverges from a December 16th ruling by U.S. District Judge Richard Leon in Washington, D.C., who said the almost Orwellian program is likely unconstitutional. He ordered the government to stop collecting call data on the two plaintiffs in that case. The program also faces a legal challenge from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, a data privacy group. Any split among the federal judges about the program's constitutionality could ultimately be resolved by the U.S. Supreme Court. In a 54-page decision, Pauley said the program vacuums up information about virtually every telephone call to, from, or within the United States. But he said the program's constitutionality is ultimately a question of reasonableness, and that there was no evidence that the government had used bulk telephony metadata for any reason other than to investigate and disrupt terrorist attacks.
A suspected gunman in Louisiana killed 3 people and wounded 3 others near New Orleans before turning a shotgun on himself and committing suicide. Police say the incidents took place last night in Lafourche Parish, about 45 miles southwest of New Orleans. 3 of the people died of gunshot wounds, and the cause of the death has yet to be determined for one of the victims. Ben Edward Freeman is suspected of shooting Lafourche Parish Councilman Louis Philip Gouin, his wife Susan, and their daughter Andrea. The wife died in the shooting, and the other 2 were in critical condition at an area hospital. Deputies learned that Ben Freeman is a former son-in-law of the Gouins and has been formally married to their daughter Jean Gouin. About 20 minutes later, Freeman is suspected of going to the home of hospital administrator Milton Bourgeois and opening fire. Freeman had once been an employee of the hospital where Bourgeois worked. Bourgeois was shot at close range and died. His wife was also shot and is in critical condition at the hospital. Freeman's body was found later that night in a car along the side of the road with a shotgun wound to the head. The body of his wife, Denise Taylor Freeman, was found at their home, and it was not yet known how she died.
Wow, this guy just kind of just
rampage.
Total rampage killed. Wow. Really ugly. U.S. stock indexes closed mostly flat today, with some key technology companies eroding recent gains after investors took a break from a rally that has pushed stocks to all-time highs. For the week, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 1.6%, while the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ each gained 1.3%. Let me add that this is a holiday week where the volume is maybe just a few percent of a heavy week, maybe 5% of normal.
Target Corporation admitted today that PIN numbers and codes used to secure ATM cards were stolen as part of the massive data breach at the 3rd largest U.S. retailer, though it is said that it was confident the data was safe and secure because it was encrypted. We'll see. A Target spokeswoman said the stolen PIN information was strongly encrypted when it was removed from Target's systems. She said, in her words, "We remain confident that PIN numbers are safe and secure." She added. Okay. The attack on Target began November 27th, the day before the Thanksgiving holiday continued until December 1st, making it the 2nd largest data breach in U.S. retail history. The largest breach against a U.S. retailer, uncovered in 2007 at a TJX Costs Incorporated, led to the theft of data of more than 90 million credit cards over about 18 months.
It's interesting how over 18 months, so the people had the data, and in this case, they have a chance to try to crack that encryption.
Well, I heard something about that really badly affected Target's holiday sales.
I can believe it.
Yeah, they were way down after the news broke.
Yeah.
They've been, like 6% down against last year, or the weekend before Christmas, something like that.
At least a few.
Well, it's
A few points, anyway.
hard to imagine that they wouldn't. I mean, people are going to go in there with their credit cards or their debit cards and say, "Here, give me, want my social security number too?" I don't think so. So.
In Aleppo, Syria, rebel forces captured the Al-Kindi hospital Saturday after a huge suicide truck bombing destroyed part of the building. Syrian government warplanes dropped barrel bombs Sunday on the city of Aleppo, killing 63 people, including civilians. Russia sent 25 armored trucks and 50 other vehicles to Syria Monday to help transport toxins that are to be destroyed under an international agreement to rid the nation of its chemical arsenal. Syrian government forces and rebel fighters in a besieged Damascus suburb agreed yesterday to a 48-hour truce that could result in food being allowed in for residents threatened with starvation.
18 Iraqi military officers and soldiers were killed on Saturday and more than 30 others injured after an attack in Rutbah in Iraq's western Anbar province. A mortar attack on Monday killed 4 Iraqi officers and 2 soldiers in an army base west of Baghdad. An attack on the news complex in Tikrit, Iraq, Monday killed 5 people. A car bomb exploded on Wednesday near a church in Baghdad as Christian worshippers were leaving a Christmas service, killing at least 14 people and wounding 28 others.
4 U.S. personnel were wounded Saturday after the 3 CV-22 Osprey aircraft they were on were shot during an evacuation attempt of Americans from Bor, South Sudan. The United Nations said Tuesday that it has discovered a mass grave containing 75 people in Unity State, Sudan. 2 other mass graves had been reported in Juba. South Sudan's government said Tuesday that its military recaptured the key town of Bor days after it was seized by rebels.
Ukraine's opposition vowed on Sunday to continue pro-EU protests over the holiday period, despite an economic deal signed with Russia a few days ago. Tatiana Kornovo, a Ukrainian civic activist and journalist, was dragged from her car on Christmas Day and beaten by a group of men. Authorities say that this is the latest attack on government opponents.
13 people were killed and 10 injured in a suicide car bomb attack Sunday at a military checkpoint near the eastern Libyan city of Benghazi.
The Pakistani army launched a military offensive on Monday against Taliban insurgents near the Afghan border. There are accusations that dozens of civilians were killed.
A huge explosion hit the Dakhiliyah Security Directorate Tuesday in the Egyptian Nile city of Mansoura, killing 16 people and injuring at least 134. The Egyptian government Wednesday redesignated the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt as a terrorist organization.
Israeli forces fired into Gaza on Tuesday, killing a Gazan who allegedly approached the Israeli fence surrounding Gaza. Then a Gazan sniper killed a Bedouin laborer who was repairing the Israeli fence surrounding Gaza. Following this, the Israeli military attacked Gaza with airstrikes and ground forces, killing at least 1 Palestinian 3-year-old child and wounding several others.
Meanwhile, in Bethlehem.
I was just, yeah. Or I was in Louis Armstrong sing that Beautiful World song, in the background to that. Man.
Yes, okay.
The New People's Army, the armed branch of the Communist Party of the Philippines, torched 3 taxis Tuesday in Panabo, Davao del Norte, just before a Christmas truce.
6 peacekeepers from Chad were killed on Thursday in clashes in the Central African Republic.
A suspected suicide bomber attacked a military convoy on the eastern outskirts of Kabul, Afghanistan today, killing at least 3 foreign soldiers. The Taliban claimed responsibility for the attack, which comes as President Hamid Karzai deliberates over an agreement allowing U.S. forces to stay in the country beyond 2014. The Slovak Foreign Ministry said 2 of the dead were Slovak servicemen and 1 was a U.S. soldier. On that cheery note, we're going to take a break, go to Gregory Crawford's weekly rant. It's a good one.
Frothing at the mouth.
Yeah, yeah. And then we're going to come right back after that. So thanks for joining us.
Hi, I'm Greg Crawford with the Friday News Dump, brought to you by World News Trust. 2013 is almost over, and a new year looms on the horizon. But happy might not be the best word to describe what might be in store for we the people if the Republicans have their way in 2014. There was a point, right after the Republicans' ill-considered shutdown blew up in their faces, that I thought that now, maybe, just maybe, these clowns would actually make an effort to take part in responsible governance. Silly me. They say a leopard can't change its spots. Well, Republicans don't have that excuse. They refuse to even try to change their metaphorical spots. Addressing a problem first requires the acknowledgement that there is a problem, and the Republicans would rather carve out their own eyeballs with a rusty spoon before they'd ever admit they were wrong about anything. This adamant refusal to accept responsibility for their actions belies a level of infantile selfishness that is disturbing in children with emotional problems. It is virtually always accompanied by a total disregard for the effect these actions have on others. When that same depraved indifference is still evident in adulthood, you know you are dealing with a sociopath. Don't ever trust them any further than you can throw a truck. There are 435 members of the House of Representatives and 100 senators. There once were some comparatively reasonable Republicans in both houses, but they've all been run out of town on a rail by the brain-dead mutants in the so-called Tea Party caucus. These teabaggers are, without exception, textbook sociopaths utterly devoid of conscience. Sadly, that character flaw is not limited to those on the dark side of the aisle, but any Republican that even breathes the word compromise is immediately threatened with a primary challenge that includes those in districts so contorted by gerrymandering that they'd otherwise be incumbent for life. The fact that democracy is defined by the concept of compromise doesn't seem to register in their dim little reptilian brains. But then they hate democracy almost as much as they hate anyone who has the temerity to disagree with them. The nation's economic problems are the direct result of policies implemented by both parties. Slick Willie Clinton did sign the bill abolishing the Glass-Steagall Act, after all. But even in the face of irrefutable proof of the abject failure of these policies, Republicans have thus far blocked every attempt to ameliorate the detrimental effects of these decisions. They love to invoke the name of the American people when they take draconian measures to deny them assistance for their own good. Don't want them becoming too dependent on the nanny state by getting a few of their own tax dollars back when they're in need. But talk is cheap, and their actions speak volumes about their real feelings toward those who were foolish enough to elect them. Folks who have lost their homes to the blatantly illegal machinations of mortgage lenders find zero sympathy from their Republican representatives who castigate them for not doing due diligence in examining the fine print. There's never any mention of the criminal behavior of the lenders, only the gullibility of their victims. Caveat emptor reigns supreme. You would think there'd be a Latin phrase that balances out "let the buyer beware," like, "Let the sleazy maggot that lied to a corrupt judge to allow an illegal foreclosure to go forward based on fabricated evidence attested to by fraudulent robo-signers beware." Well, yeah, we might have to shorten that one a little bit. But you get the point. Banksters and corporate psychopaths have rigged the justice system with the help of corrupt politicians and a morally bankrupt Supreme Court majority, so they are, by and large, answerable to no one. And they're just getting warmed up. Wait till you see what a load they've got in the Trans-Pacific Partnership will do if it's enacted into law. And then kiss the rule of law and the ghost of representative democracy a sad and permanent goodbye. Republicans are consistently more concerned with obstructing any legislation introduced by Democrats than they are with actually governing. It doesn't even matter if the bill in question was originally a Republican initiative. If a Democrat says it, then they're against it, and screw the American people. The best interests of the Republican Party's base, psychotic uber-Christians, comes before the best interests of the nation as a whole, and doing the bidding of their corporate masters come before anything, period. To paraphrase the comments made by ExxonMobil's CEO a while back, we do not feel we are obligated to pay any particular allegiance to the United States. That tells you all you need to know about corporate attitudes towards the American people, or for that matter, to any people anywhere. In other words, their right to profits takes precedence over your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But if you're not content to let the corporatists curb stomp what few liberties you still have left, well, we've already discussed what you can do about it. We must not let these evil bastards win.
And we're back.
The Russian designer of the AK-47 assault rifle, Mikhail Kalashnikov, died at the age of 94 on Monday.
Pope Francis Wednesday gave his first Urbi et Orbi speech. Is that calling for peace amidst the Syrian civil war and the 2013 South Sudan political crisis.
Canadian-American billionaire Edgar M. Bronfman, who ran Seagram's until 1994, died Saturday in Manhattan at the age of 84.
Black market sales began Sunday of credit and debt card data that was compromised in a data breach at Target Corporation. So that was related to the story we were reporting earlier before the break.
Now they've been able to track that information.
I should have attached that. Yeah, I guess it's showing up on like those...
the black market?
Yeah, like maybe that kind of site that they shut down.
So Target's taking it in the ear right now. That's too bad. Pity, pity, pity.
Yeah.
American Express Tuesday was ordered to pay $75.7 million in restitution and fines to customers and federal regulators over billing people for services they never received.
Shipping companies United Parcel Service and FedEx apologized for late package deliveries for Christmas, citing high volumes of packages.
But are they going to refund the shipping that everybody that said, oh, expedited 2-day shipping or whatever?
Well, I don't know.
They're getting the packages delivered, but they might, it would be good PR for them to make some sort of recompense to people that said, yeah, we'll get that for you in 2 days, and then it shows up 2 weeks later.
Well, especially because they could have maybe got the stuff for half price after Christmas, if that's when it was going to arrive.
Right.
Indeed.
Right.
Despite an anti-flammable liquid coating, the yearly giant Yule goat in Gavle, Sweden, was again destroyed in an arson attack on Saturday. The poor goat.
What?
I looked this up. There's a town in Sweden.
Really happened. Huh?
Where they have a big square, an open square, where they have a goat.
A giant goat.
A sculpture of a goat.
A sculpture
it's like maybe 20,
the Yule goat.
20 feet, 25 feet high.
And they burned it?
Well, it turns out they've been doing this since the 40s. So what's that? 80 years, 75 years or something?
The Yule goat.
20 of the years it's been burned. So it's kind of like, but the government doesn't want people burning it, but people do it as a prank. And so that's people,
They know how to have some fun over there.
Well, they actually streamed it. Or taped it on a webcam or on a camera. I don't know if they streamed it live, but you can see clips of it online.
Well, I guess forms of amusement are few and far between in Sweden this time of year.
2 NASA astronauts at the International Space Station conducted a series of spacewalks Saturday through Tuesday to replace a faulty ammonia coolant pump.
At least 10 people were injured on Sunday after a cargo train crashed into the Nairobi slum of Kibera.
The United Kingdom Tuesday pledged $1 billion for the Philippines to help with the reconstruction due to the destruction of Typhoon Haiyan.
Heavy winds and rain disrupted transportation and cut power in parts of France and the United Kingdom on Tuesday, bringing the death toll from the last 2 days of the storm to 6. 18
Haitian migrants drowned Wednesday off the
Turks and Caicos.
Turks and Caicos Islands after their sailboat carrying more than 50 suspected immigrants capsized while being towed to port.
Oh.
That seems tragic, especially tragic that they were...
They were being towed and the thing capsized.
Yeah, they were in custody.
Wow.
Yeah.
A group of men, women, and children were victims of a horrifying piranha attack on Christmas Day in the Parana River of Rosario, Argentina. At least 70 people were injured.
70?
70 people were injured, including children who were bathing in the river to cool down from the heat. Ouch.
Ew.
Yuck. Yeah, well, doesn't it say the river's like the Parana River or something? So
well, they spell it a little bit differently in these, but they've had occasional piranha attacks apparently, but this was a massive frontal attack by a lot of very, very unpleasant little fish.
It's like a Jaws movie.
Well, a few people lost fingers and stuff like that and got pretty well chewed up.
Oh man.
And the screenplay rights for that movie and brokered by World News Trust.
Yeah. Damn.
Columbia University Medical Center researchers say they used MRI imaging to clarify 3 fundamental issues about Alzheimer's disease: where it starts, why it starts there, and how it spreads. In addition to advancing understanding of Alzheimer's, the findings published in the journal Nature Neuroscience could improve early detection of the disease when drugs may be most effective.
Russian
That's
authorities on Monday granted amnesty to political activists Maria Alyokina and Nazdahede Tolokonikova. Let's try that one. Tolonkonikova of the Russian
What do they call
band
'em? Pussy
Riot.
I was going to
Less
say,
than-
tongue-tied, are we?
I think I just sprained it. Damn. Less than 3 months before the end of their sentences. They had been convicted of hooliganism motivated by religious hatred.
Basically, they sang an anti-Putin song in a
Yes,
concert.
in a church, and it,
Church,
for all
that
of
was
for
it.
all of like 6 seconds.
Former UK MP Dennis McShane was sentenced Monday to 6 months in jail for expenses fraud after he admitted to submitting 19 false receipts totaling £12,900, probably around $20,000.
Wait, he's a banker?
No, he's an
No,
MP.
I think he was a minister of parliament.
Oh, 6 months in jail.
In Tupelo, Mississippi on Monday, 2 or 3 armed bank robbery suspects fleeing police following a holdup at a bank corp south shot dead 1 policeman and injured another.
British World War II computer pioneer and codebreaker Alan Turing was granted a posthumous royal pardon Monday. Turing was chemically castrated in 1952 following his conviction for homosexuality.
Yeah.
And
right.
then he committed suicide.
Oh, man.
And he was the person one of the people who was instrumental in deciphering the Enigma code.
Right, and like inventing the computer, right?
Well, he
Had a lot to
had a lot to do with that too. But you can't do good things if you are of an alternative persuasion, apparently.
Wow. So what's
pretty
chemically castrated? You're forced to take
Well, you're taking pills that
estrogen or something?
Yes,
Well,
he
you-
was he had to
something
take
like
estrogen.
that. So
That's what I understand.
I don't know. I'm not even going to go there.
That's terrible. That's
Officials
weird.
said on Tuesday that a crypto locker ransomware has infected about 250,000 computers around the world, whatever a crypto locker ransomware is. I guess we'll
you
find
don't-
out more about that in the future.
You don't want it.
We don't want them.
Former NSA contractor Edward Snowden gave a short Christmas address broadcast on the UK's Channel 4 News from his temporary asylum in Russia. The 30-year-old American is wanted for taking hundreds of thousands of classified documents and is credited for starting a necessary debate about government surveillance in the digital post-9/11 world. In Snowden's words, recently we learned that our governments, working in concert, have created a system of worldwide mass surveillance, watching everything we do. Great Britain's George Orwell warned us of the dangers of this kind of information, the types of collection in the book, microphones and video cameras, TVs that watch us, are nothing compared with what we have available today. We have sensors in our pockets that track us everywhere we go. Snowden continued, think about what this means for the privacy of the average person. A child born today will grow up with no conception of privacy at all. They'll never know what it means to have a private moment to themselves, an unrecorded, unanalyzed thought. And that's a problem because privacy matters. Privacy is what allows us to determine who we are and who we want to be. He says in conclusion, the conversation occurring today will determine the amount of trust we can place both in the technology that surrounds us and the government that regulates it. Together we can find a better balance, end mass surveillance, and remind the government that if it really wants to know how we feel, asking is always cheaper than spying.
The scientific world is all abuzz over something they're calling metamaterials. In simple terms, these metamaterials can alter the physical world by distorting or bending, say, seismic waves around a structure, or light waves around an individual covered by... Wait a minute, Harry Potter's invisibility cloak is real?
Oh, cool.
Could be. once they perfect it. Of course, the Pentagon will immediately classify the technology so they can kill more people up close and personal without being seen. Saves gas on all those drones.
Now, explain this to me a little bit. So what are these metamaterials? Is it a whole classification of...
Well, the explanation was almost indecipherable that I had, but it's essentially minute fibers that can generate some sort of force that will deflect waves around. You know, the seismic waves. Everything is oscillates. Everything's basically made up of waves, one way or another. As far as the energy in an earthquake or light energy, and it can be bent and distorted by these materials. They're microscopic. They're wicked little itty bitty things, but they have other uses too. But I thought the fact that they are actually trying to make invisibility cloaks of a sort was kind of amusing. But
fascinating. Thank you for joining us for the Friday News Dump for December 27th, 2013. Next week's going to be 2014.
So happy holidays.
Yes, Happy New Year. This is Deborah Goodwin behind the camera, my partner, Greg Crawford. I'm Francis Goodwin. See you next week.